In this module, we're going to go through the recording process. So I'm going to start off by just deleting all of these tracks. We do not need them. Let's start with a blank session, shall we? We're going to create some tracks. Command Shift and N or Control Shift and N on a PC. And we are just going to create one mono track and we're going to call this map. Now you have two choices when it comes to plugging a microphone into Pro Tools. You can either use a mic using an XLR cable going into an audio interface, or you can use a microphone that goes USB straight into the computer. Let me show you how you would choose between those two. Head to Setup, Playback Engine, we've been here before, and you can choose your microphone. So I've got a USB Audio Technica microphone plugged in. Now if I change to this, it's going to ask, do you want to shut Pro Tools down? It will reopen, and what it will actually do is it will use that microphone as the audio interface. So the ATR 2100 that I've got plugged in has a headphone out on it as well, so it will just sort of become the sound card itself. You capture into it and you listen back through it. We're not going to do that. We are going to continue to use my Persona Studio 192. Now this is a small form box with two mic inputs on the front, and you can attach loads of other inputs on the back and through ADAT digital connections. But a lot of Focusrite stuff out there, Audient stuff out there, really good. There's loads on the market. So that is my audio playback device and my audio capture. Then we need to identify which port we have plugged the XLR in, which socket we've plugged the XLR in. So I know, for example, I am actually plugged into number 2 just because the socket was nearer to me. So we choose which microphone we want, microphone 2, and we can arm the track. Now hopefully, yep, we can see my microphone coming into Pro Tools there. I'm just going to mute that because I can hear I'm recording into Pro Tools at the same time. I don't want to hear that. The other thing you want to check is where your audio is coming out. So as we mentioned in the other tutorials, I have chosen my monitors to be my monitors out, and that's playing out to my Presonus, out to my headphones. So when it comes to recording, you need to make sure that you've got a good amount of gain. Now, what do I mean by gain? I mean how loud or how much amplitude your audio has going into the audio interface. Now, I have a controller on the front of mine, and I can adjust the volume and I can adjust the gain. We see I'll turn it up here more and more and more and more. We can see it getting louder, too loud in my opinion, and we'll just pull that back. Now this is on digital VU. Sample peak is fine. This will give us a slightly more ballistic view. We do not want to be in the red. You never want your gain to be in the red. Want to pull it down to sit somewhere in the amber. I like to use the K12 meters for broadcast. I know that as long as I'm not going into the red or the amber, that we will be good for recording. Let's make that large again. Anywhere between -12 and -8 is great. It gives you plenty of headroom so that you don't peak. If you've got a podcast that you're going to be laughing in, or you've got someone doing some voice acting, or you've got a big boomy voiceover, make sure that they're speaking right at the volume so that you can see, like that, whether the gain is appropriate. In this case, I'm going to put it down a little bit more just for safety's sake. It's better to be on the safe side. Let's go back to our track. So as I already sort of alluded to get your track to ARM, you click this little record enable button, and then we can choose here whether we listen to the signal coming in or whether we listen to the signal going through the channel path. So imagine when this is on, we're listening to the audio before it heads down this channel. With this off, we are listening to the audio as it's gone through, including the fader. Put that back. Another thing to be wary of is your noise floor. If I stop talking, we'll be able to see on the meters how loud this space is that I'm in. Not too loud, that's good. However, if I turn the gain up, the noise floor will come up with it. And we don't want that. So when you're leveling yourself out to start recording a voice, or even if you're recording an instrument, just make sure that you aren't cranking it too loud on the device itself, that you're just introducing loads of noise and hiss. A lot of the famous podcasters at the moment are using a microphone by Shure called the SM7B, and that microphone needs a fair amount of gain to get a good recording level going into your interface. And you can do this by getting little micro amplifiers that go in before. So there's things like a cloud lifter or a FET head. And what they can do is they can introduce a certain amount of decibels of pre-amplified gain before going into your audio interface. So that is preparing to record.